Hi, my name is Mark Nudio. This is Module 15 about the Truman Elementary case study. So what do I know? I know the demographic information that Truman has 700 students, 15% free or reduced lunch, and 5% speak a different language. I know the perception information that there's the parents are expressing concern about our recent reading scores and test scores and instruction from teachers. I know that there's an upcoming grant that we can apply for. I also know our budget, and I know that I've hired a reading supervisor to look at the problem, and she's come back a report that outlined our curriculum standards, our balanced instruction, individualized instruction, too much of it, and the need for professional development. What do I need to know? I need to know the information from our reading supervisor. So I need to know how to revise our curriculum standards. I need to know how to support our professional development. I need to implement proposed changes to our reading programs to increase scores. I need to know our demographic information. I need to know knowledge of reading program, and I need to know research-based programs in reading. This is important information for our grant submission. And as an advanced education professional, I need to know our budget for professional development if we need new technology or any resources. And I need to know a timeline for change to occur. And I need to know how to address the PTA and the school community about this problem. Identification of the problem. So basically, I'm going to use my leadership and put my best foot forward to increase the reading achievement scores of students. I want to, there's a problem with collaborating with the school community for grant support, so we want to solve that problem. We want to establish collaborative school culture for learning, and we want to establish a shared vision for learning and innovation. So if we look at the scores here, basically this graph will tell us that our reading scores have gone down in the last 3 years, mostly over the different grade levels. However, in grade 2, that is the highlight level in green here. As this level, we see some progress right here. So perhaps in grade 2, they're doing something right. This might be an area to talk to the person there and see if they are doing something different from the rest of the school. So my plan of action is quite elaborative. On screencast, I only have 15 minutes, so I'm going to try to get through this a little bit quickly, actually. So first, I'm going to inform the staff of the problem. I'm going to have an open discussion and see what problem-solving strategies they have. I'm also going to ask them some perception data, how they're feeling about their instruction in the classroom, if they feel satisfied with the resources they're using. To do this, I might establish actually committees, and the committee would get together, and I'd subdivide them. One to look at curriculum, one to look at the reading programs, one to see the data collection we have and how we're collecting that data, and another one to assess our data techniques. I look at our resources, our financial resources with regards to how much money we have for any resources that we may need, new computers, for example. Our human resources, what trained professionals do we have to help in the following areas in data collection and assessment. And I'd also look at our educational resources as well. Computers, books we have in the library, books we have in the classroom, what reading programs we're using, etc. I'd look for a timeline as part of the plan of action. We had a timeline for a grant submission to try to get some extra funding from the state. Professional development timeline, how much time we're spending on professional development, and timeline to put proposed changes in place, especially when parents are breathing down our back about reading programs. I'd also, my plan of action would also look at the public relations aspect of it. How do I communicate a solution to our PTA? How do I communicate information about the reading program and our current teaching practices in a sensitive way, in a way that they know that we're doing something about it? I look at data collection, our overall learning culture, and evaluation of our programs. So promoting success for all students, basically to teach a student, sometimes you have to think of a student. So the questions I came up here were, what if we had more control over learning? So making students a part of the learning process always helps. What if a teacher used different instructional methods? So as a teacher, we want to use different ways to instruct them in students. And how can we make our learning more fun? Looking at different ways. So to promote success of students, make them part of the process, make them involved in their learning. So personal reflection on debriefing the problem. If I had a problem with the school, which I do, with the reading, and the parents kind of a little bit upset about that, I was thinking, was I doing my job properly? Should I have noticed this data? Should I have noticed the gaps in the data myself? Should I have solved the problem before it even started, basically? And so how do I prioritize and communicate this now that there is a problem? So my feeling is concerned. I feel concerned for my students, for the parents, for the overall learning culture, because people are blaming teachers on their instruction techniques. And I feel a sense of responsibility, again, coming back to, was I doing my job properly? And I value, most importantly, I value the students here, and I value the stakeholders, the overall school community. That's why we come to work every day for our students. So investigating further problems. Now that there's a problem in reading, I also noticed there's a problem in math as well. So the math scores are they're going up a little bit, but down in some areas. But basically, if there's a problem in one area, there's a common trend that can help problems in other areas, because it all comes back to assessment, to professional development, to resources, to teaching practices, to a good learning culture. So I feel if there's one problem, we can look in other areas to especially look for potential problems that are coming up. So, and also I think the big thing just to highlight here is looking at more of a long-term solution versus a short-term solution, especially with technology. It's more of a long-term solution, I think, with new technology coming in. Our professional development, and just to see if we're doing things correctly with our assessment and data. So my agent to engage stakeholders. So I feel I did a pretty good job in this situation. In real life, first I would have responded to the needs of stakeholders by conducting background research and verifying it through the use of a reading specialist. I reached out to a reading specialist and got help where I felt I needed help. I used collaboration among staff to get their opinions. I felt that I used a democratic leadership style, making them part of the decision process, always important in an organization. Third, I implemented a new plan, and I communicated that plan to the public, especially with the students' best interest in mind. And also, I look for continuous improvement, not just a short-term solution. And I think by doing this, I installed a culture for learning and professional growth for our teachers. And ultimately, I had the best interest of my teachers in mind and my students at heart. And how did I use the data to respond to a larger community? So I looked at the number of hours per week spent on literacy. I looked at the reading and math scores to elicit understanding over the past few years. And I looked at qualitative data in the perception data, especially with the teachers, by asking them their opinions on things and how they feel they are doing in the classroom, or the resources they have in the classroom, or the problems that exist. By documenting that, I'm also collecting qualitative data, which is important. And I looked at that regarding their, as I said, their instructional practices at different levels. So when I look at other things, I also think of the law. This may change our law and stuff, looking at Every Student Succeeds Act, our accountability, provisions for fair education. Every student has that. I looked at our policies, our homework, our technology use, and our communication policies. And I also looked at regulations. I looked at our professional development, and I also looked at our data collection methods. And how did I use an ongoing dialogue with decision makers? So with reading specialists to check in to make sure that even if we do put improvements in place, that we're following the guidelines set forth by the reading specialist report. District personnel, I might have used that for grant submission information and guidance. The public, making them a part of the process, informing and communicating information, and professional development with our teachers. I think all of this ultimately revolves back to making our students feel that they are an environment where we are trying our best efforts and putting our best resources forth for their behalf. Overall, I'd like to thank you very much for this course and from learning from you. I learned a lot about this. I'll look at numbers in a different way for sure, not only as numbers, but as an opportunity to grow as a professional, to put some changes in place. And I thank you for that. Take care, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you.